Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer. The feature race at Monmouth Park on Saturday is the Grade 3 Monmouth Oaks. 3-year-old fillies going 1.1 miles. It's carded as race number 9. Let's take a look at this field. Looks like a pretty good betting race, Mike. The number 9, a Cult for trainer Chad Brown, is your 3-1 morning line favorite. This horse won the Busanda earlier this year, but I think you can make a case for 4 or 5 of these.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I mean, it feels like a race that could be open to a few different horses. I won't argue too hard with a Cult being the morning line favorite, Dan. It feels like 2 turns and distance is kind of what she really wants. I'm just not sure how good she is, and I'm not sure how short a price I'd be willing to take on her.
We'll throw up the Timeform US pace projector. The number 1, Ruth Ann, figures to take advantage from her inside post. She showed speed in her 2-turn and route debut last time out at Laurel Park, and I think they're going to let her get to the front here. The 2, At the Crossroads, has good tactical speed. The number 8, Seduction, was kind of conservatively handled last time. I think they'll be more aggressive with her, and I think she could be sitting in a catbird seat, 2nd or 3rd off the speeds.
That's exactly how I looked at it, Dan. I won't argue too hard with the 1 going to the front in here. She got a pretty nice aggressive ride in that last one before going on to victory. But Seduction is probably faster than she looked in that most recent start, where they just, for whatever reason, just didn't really let her use her speed.
If the pace is fast, please consider the number 6, Miss New York. You see the LP flag over her chiclet. That designates that Miss New York has the fastest late Timeform US pace rating. Let's kick things off with Ruth Ann's most recent win in a first-level allowance, going 1.1 miles. As you see, this track is very, very wet. Ruth Ann battled for the lead early, shrugged off her pace competition, and struts home to win as much the best. And I had a feeling she was going to go long. She just looks like a bigger type, a daughter of Uncle Mo that might even appreciate some more distance.
Yeah, I liked this performance from her, Dan. I actually wanted to maybe get your thoughts on it a little bit more, though, just because this is your circuit. I mean, I thought she ran really well last time. Took the race to the favorite in there, put that horse away easily, won clear. Just not sure that the favorite of that race is any good at all. That horse wound up getting really tired, but I still thought she ran well. Was that a good field overall? Was her prior form that good? I mean, I really liked what I saw from her last time.
I think her prior form sprinting was solid, and I think the jury's still out what to make of the last race. Because, okay, of course, there was the sloppy track. Like you, I don't think much of the field she beat, but boy, she beat nothing the right way if you think they were nothing. Yeah. The 2 is At the Crossroads, who finished 3rd last time out in the Boiling Springs. She was up close to a solid pace in that race, didn't break very well, kind of mid-moved. She's really improved in her last few starts, and with her tactical speed at a big price, she should at least be in the thick of things after the first half mile or so.
We'll see if she can get another good trip in this race. I thought overall she got a pretty good one last time, Dan, when she was in against several of these same horses. She did her best with that trip. She wound up finishing 3rd in that race. I never really felt like there was a point where she was going to win, but she certainly outran her odds that day. And so maybe she could do that again in this spot. She's a big price on the morning line once again. She blew out a field in her 2-turn debut, 2 starts back, but it didn't come back a very fast race.
The number 3 is Promise Her America, going out for trainer Ray Handel. She is already a graded stakes winner. She pulled off a big upset in the Gazelle 2 starts back, going 1.1 miles, and the runner-up of that race came back to run really well in the Kentucky Oaks. Now, this horse had a tough trip in the Kentucky Oaks. Ray Handel wanted to run her in the Delaware Oaks 4 weeks ago, and he had all those issues. He had to scratch his horses. He said he loved the way she was training coming into this race because she came out of the Kentucky Oaks a very tired horse. It'll be interesting if the extra time works to her advantage or against her.
I think she's a major player in this race, Dan. Her Kentucky Oaks, I feel like you're just supposed to put a line through it. That race was a total disaster for her from start to finish. Her prior form was actually really good, and I know that when she won the Gazelle, she was the longest shot on the board. But she ran well that day, and she had also run well when she broke her maiden in her prior start, the first time they stretched her out in distance. I think this filly might be pretty good.
The number 4, Foggy Night, was hinting that she was a potential stakes horse with her win 2 starts back in an allowance at Parks. That race was going 7/8, and she won as she pleased. She was dismissed at 14-1 stretching out in this race, the aforementioned Delaware Oaks. She sat a lovely trip just behind the speeds under Paco Lopez, tips to the outside, gets it done with the career best buyer.
She got a great trip in this race. She also ran really well, Dan. She's still a little goofy in the stretch of this race. You're going to see her start, sort of lugging in here. She's going to go to her wrong lead, but she's going to keep fighting on here. She's going to be clear under the wire. just another step in the right direction for her. Her overall form is really good. Man, we'll see what kind of price she is now. She was a great price last time.
The 5 is Vegas Magic. Now, she was a graded stakes winner as a sprinter last year at 2 in Southern California. She returned off of a lengthy layoff in a very tough spot against older fillies and mares in the Great Lady M, going 6.5 furlongs. And I think they used that race as a fitness builder. She must have been 5-6 wide on the backstretch. When she was outrun on the turn, just dropped to the rail, and they let her finish up on her own on the inside. How far does she want to go? That's really one of the big question marks for Vegas Magic, who does have some upside potential.
Yeah, true enough. I mean, it's really the question of the race as far as she's concerned, Dan. She's a great price on the morning line with races as a 2-year-old that would give her a real chance in her. She was a grade 2 winner as a 2-year-old, Dan. The only time they went long with her, I mean, I don't know how you hold that race against her. The Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. I mean, I just don't feel like you're supposed to be too hard on her for that. I don't know how good she is, but at 10-1, I'm not going to argue with anybody who likes her in here.
Miss New York, the number 6, obviously likes this track. Here's her win in the Boiling Springs last time out, going 1.70 miles, and she beat 3 of these rivals. She made a big sweeping move on the turn to get into contention and was a last to first winner. Visually pretty impressive, Mike, with a 77 buyer. The question is, do you think that highly of the Boiling Springs, because this looks like a tougher field?
Yeah, that's a very fair question. And not only do you think that highly of the race, but is Miss New York necessarily the horse that you want out of it? And I think they're both very fair questions. I have no problem with the race. This filly won. That pace was very slow. They raced in a really tight pack up the backstretch, so she was last on the outside and then made a move around the turn. She finished that race off very well. It was a good performance. I'm not totally sure that she's the one I want out of that race, though.
Ishita Booty also comes out of the Boiling Springs. She was second that day. Now, this one won the Busher 3 starts back over a muddy track, going a 1-turn mile at Aqueduct, finished behind Promiser American, the Gazelle, but might have been compromised by a lack of pace, and she might have been compromised last time off the short layoff as well.
Yeah, I don't really know what to make of her Boiling Springs. I actually liked her form heading into that race, Dan. That was a very strange race that she ran, though, because she was right up close towards the inside. She dropped all the way back to last around the final turn, like she wasn't going to run at all. Her rider had her in a full drive, and she was going nowhere. And then she ran on again at the end of the race to get up for second. I mean, she ran okay in that race. It makes me wonder if she really wants to go longer distances, Dan. I think she might be a little bit better going shorter than this.
Seduction also comes out of the Boiling Springs, and she was expected to show speed. She was fresh off of a layoff. She was stretching out around 2 turns for the first time off of a gate-to-wire score at Gulfstream. And she did get close to the pace. They just didn't want to go forward with her.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know what to make of that, Dan. I hated the ride that she got in that race last time. She could have easily cut that pace. They were not going fast at all in there. And for whatever reason, when they got into the backstretch, Paco Lopez conceded to 2 long shots, wound up in behind them, had to steady as the field came into the stretch because she had no room at all. And then he spent the entire stretch trying to angle out to get into the clear. I actually didn't think that she ran that poorly in that race. And I really liked the first 2 starts of her career. I think she's way better than she looks on paper. And she could get a more aggressive ride in this race and maybe make herself really, really dangerous in here.
Oh, I think she's going to be sent out of there, get clear on the outside, not in behind horses like last time around. She should be a strong factor turning into the stretch. 8-1 for the Todd Pletcher barn. A cult goes out for Chad Brown. We're going to watch her most recent start. It's the Grade 1 Acorn, which she finished behind divisional leader Pretty Mischievous. A cult fell behind in the early part of this race, and she's going to sort of swing to the outside late and finish with an even kick to be third. Now, we have seen an also ran from this race come back and run a big one. One of her stable mates, the 6th place finisher, came back to win the Wilton, a restricted stake at Saratoga, with a 97 buyer. This finish was somewhat promising. I still can't get over that disappointing effort in the Gazelle, though.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I didn't like her Gazelle at all. Certainly, it felt like Promiser America ran way better than she did that day. She did do a little bit better last time, though, Dan. Got pretty far away from that pace. She got shut off at the start there. Rated back, made a little bit of a run there, and she earned a really solid figure. I don't know. Maybe she's the horse to beat, Dan. Again, I'm just not a huge fan of hers. Don't know if I'd really take her as the favorite.
And representing the New Jersey Breds is the 10, Riding Pretty, who's moving turf to dirt. And the last time she attempted that move was in this race against fellow J Breds going a 2-turn mile in her first start off of a 2-month layoff. She got a pace to attack in this race. They went 23 flat for the opening quarter. Here she is on the outside. She's got to look at it, Mike. She's just going to fall short.
Yeah, she runs on pretty well in this race, flagging her tail a little bit there as she's trying to catch. Not going to quite get there. I guess she ran okay in this race, Dan. Listen, they've run her 3 times on dirt. She's run pretty well in 2 of them. And the other one, she broke on her face in the sorority. So I think you want to put a line through that one. She might be better on turf, but her dirt form's okay.
Tough post, stepping up in class. Let's take a look at our top selections for the Monmouth Oaks. Mike, you're going with Seduction, just hoping for a completely different trip this time around. I don't believe she's exposed at all. And if you get that sort of price, I think you're supposed to go to the window.
Agreed. I like the price on her. I think she's better than she looks on paper, and I'm just hoping she gets a better trip this time.
I'm not sure I want to take a Colt as the favorite in this race because we talked about the Gazelle, and it was just surprising how poorly she ran. She ran better last time on the Acorn. I think if she runs that race, she's going to be right there. Vegas Magic is sort of the interesting horse for me, the number 5. We're not sure how far she wants to go, but I think she was in dire need of her most recent start. 8394 for Mike, 9457 for me. It's the feature on the Jersey Shore on Saturday, the Grade 3 Monmouth Oaks. Good luck.